Magic Johnson is portrayed as an intimidating boss who routinely threatened employees' job security, a stance that belies his charming public persona. Rob Pelinka is perceived in the story to have trouble with the truth. He often says things that simply aren't true when trying to make a point. That dishonesty has caused a crisis of faith in the Lakers GM. And then there's Jeannie Buss, seen as an absentee owner who has relinquished decision-making to others, including Pelinka and her close friend Linda Rambis. And LeBron James' agent, Rich Paul, is depicted as one of the biggest decision-makers for the team, often on the behalf of his biggest client, who, of course, is LeBron James. He also represents Anthony Davis, among many others. All of this is just the latest in what has just essentially been, to use the phrase that is common these days, a dumpster fire for the Lakers. So again, as we've had a little time to sort of roll through all of this, Jalen, what do you imagine LeBron James is thinking, and what are you thinking?
LeBron James is not going to panic, because as long as he's healthy, and worst case scenario, if they have the young talent that they have, the Lakers are going to be good next year. I just want to be a person that says that. Also, I want to just go through the layers of people you just discussed.
Go.
For young people that want to work in corporate America and or any profession, your boss at some point in time is going to be considered intimidating. Just comes with the territory. When you talk about Rob having problems with the truth, that's what happens when you work in a front office. They're not going to always tell players and or who worked with the team the truth, because you don't know the next domino. As far as Jeannie being an absentee owner, we see owners like Jerry Jones who are very hands-on. Most owners are absentee, actually. And lastly, Rich Paul being a decision maker with LeBron James for an organization, that's been happening since the beginning of time. When you have a superstar player, he should be involved in the decision making of a basketball team, especially an iconic figure like LeBron James.
So to be clear, I want to make sure I understand your point, because I think this is important. You're saying that while all of this does paint a dysfunctional picture, that maybe it is being blown up because it's the Lakers, because of the enormity of the personalities that are involved, and you don't think this is all that far removed from normalcy in an organization like this?
These are the things that are happening in franchises that don't have success. We're just not used to seeing it with the Los Angeles Lakers, because they have 16 championships, and they once had Dr. Jerry Buss presiding over the organization.
What do you think?
Well, it's a tough situation, but like Jalen said, as long as LeBron James is healthy, right, and they go into free agency with a plan, and they execute that plan to get the best player that's going to fit with their system, then they're going to be a good team. And then you know what happens when you're winning? You don't get the negative talk, okay, like they had this year when they didn't make the playoffs. We talked about how bad the Lakers were, the dysfunction, this, that, and the other. All they have to do is go out there and win games, and they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think that they always say that winning is the best deodorant, and I understand that part of it. There are pieces in this story, however, that are just beyond the norm. And again, there's a lot to digest in it. But there was a story, if I may briefly. Rob Pelinka, who was the general manager, was Kobe Bryant's agent, and he apparently got up in a meeting and told all of the players a story about Kobe, his legendary focus, that after seeing the movie Dark Knight, he said he was fascinated by the way Heath Ledger sort of inhabited the character of the Joker, and said to Rob Pelinka, set up a meeting for me with him, and that the two of them went off and had dinner and talked about how he had played the Joker. And unfortunately, for the purposes of this story and otherwise, Heath Ledger was dead before that movie came out. So this obviously could not have happened. Why are you looking at me like that?
People always embellish stories.
It's one thing to embellish a story. I mean, he told a story in front of a group of people that Kobe Bryant had dinner with a man who was dead.
I hate to tell you guys this. When you're watching somebody speak to a group of kids or to a basketball team, people embellish stories.
Embellishing a story.
It happens.
Okay.
I promise you it happens.
Is the message that we're sending here, if you're going to make up a story about two famous people being together, make sure both of them are alive at the time that it happened?
Yes.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
The older you get, the longer the walk was to school.
Yeah.
That's an absolute fact.
They're called tall tales.
No one knows less about pop culture than I do, and even I knew that Heath Ledger was dead when that movie came out.
You got to get it to Laura, man. You got to get to Laura.
Yeah, come on.
She's our cool factor.
Listen, I'm actually glad that we got to the bottom of that, so thanks for doing that, guys. But we do have Jay Will and Tom Thibodeau over here, and you had a point you wanted to make about LeBron's agent, Rich Paul.
Yeah, I just don't like the fact that his name is being dragged in the dirt. Now, look, nobody said anything to David Falk when David Falk was helping Michael Jordan make those same kind of decisions with the Chicago Bulls, with Phil Jackson and Jerry Reinsdorf. So, all these things, Rich Paul is in a position to do so. Him riding the team plane, well, that needs to get consent from the front office. It's not like Rich Paul is just deboing his way and saying, I want to ride on the team plane. So Rich Paul is just doing what Rich Paul has always done, which is work with the biggest star in the game of basketball.
Okay, and just to be totally clear, you are friendly with Rich Paul, right? So
I'm friendly with
know that.
everybody.
And you're good with saying that, so we'll go ahead and make sure people know that, as you are. Now, I do want to hit on one other specific thing from this article from Baxter Holmes, because Tibbs, we were talking about this a little earlier on amongst everybody. There's parts where they talk about how Pelinka and maybe Linda Rambis even, or Kurt Rambis, were in some meetings at halftime with the team, in Luke Walton's meetings with the team, and some people said that was bizarre and that you don't normally see that. From your experience as a coach and in organizations, is that something that you see regularly?
Well, I know from my experience that never happened. You only have 15 minutes when you get into halftime. 5 minutes, the coaches are reviewing film, the players are in the locker room. Then you have 5 minutes with your team, and then you send them back out. So it's a very tight time sequence. So that is unusual. But there are some teams, I guess, that have done that. But again, it comes back to leadership in order. And to your point, how do you build trust? The only way to build trust is with the truth. So, obviously there's a lot going on there.
What do you think about the fact that maybe there were people in the front office that were in these meetings? Does that bother you if you're a coach or even being a player on some of these teams?
I just don't put anything past the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jay Rose alluded to it on the desk. When you're going through changes like that and there's so many cooks in the kitchen, a lot of different things happen. And I think that comes with management. If your management has experience and understanding how to deal with that, then they dictate what their terms are. I just don't think there was one person. There were multiple leaders in this organization.
Yeah, I do want to follow up quickly on something that Jalen brought up, too, about how maybe this isn't that big of a deal overall. Maybe some of it's being blown out of proportion. Do you guys agree with any of that?
Oh, it's a big deal because it's the Lakers.
Yeah.
That's the reason why it's a big deal. Okay. It's in L.A.